Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Single Muslim Live on British Muslim TV, sponsored by singlemuslim.com. And I'm your host, Fahima Mohammed, your relationship coach. I welcome you all today watching from all the various platforms on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, wherever else you're watching us live on Sky. Welcome, dear viewers. I really appreciate you all tuning in today. And we have another topic around relationships. Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of self-esteem and self-worth when trying to find a marriage partner. And with me today to help me, I have a special guest. I'd love to welcome Sister Tabassum Sabir. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure to have you here today. Just for our dear viewers, I want to remind you all that this is a live call-in show. If you have any queries, any comments, you have two coaches here on board to help you with anything that you require, especially Tabassum, who's only here tonight. So please do take notes, do take advantage for having her here today. And the number that you need to call is 01924 231-083, or all the standard network rates do apply from your mobile phone or your actual landline. So please do call in. We'd love to hear what your queries are today. Firstly, I'd like to start off with Tabassum, if you could just quickly introduce yourself with regards to what exactly you mean by being a self-mastery coach.
So I introduced myself as Tabassum Sabir, a self-mastery, success and self-esteem coach. And what that kind of means is that I help women get empowered with their emotions, because I'm finding in my line of work what women were most having trouble with were their emotions. And then that has impact on everything else in their life, but mostly on their relationships.
That's amazing. We do have an audience here today, which is mixed, obviously, gender. So this is going to be advice for everybody, because as we know, we all have issues, and men kind of hide away their emotions, but they do have them and they do feel them. So we need to understand that, inshallah, we will be giving, some sort of like insights and awareness today for everybody who's watching. So if you could start me off as to why is it so important that we need to consider self-esteem? A lot of us don't even understand that meaning. What is your take on sort of defining the importance of self-esteem?
Self-esteem is really your overall sense of self-worth and value. It kind of comes down to how much you appreciate and love yourself, and that's really based on the beliefs that you have around yourself. So that includes your appearance, your general beliefs around yourself. It includes your emotions, and it also comes out in your behaviors. Self-esteem is one of these things that's formed in very early childhood for most people, but there are other areas in life or other events that happen in life that can impact your self-esteem. So it really is a really well-rounded part of a human's life, basically.
When you talk about self-esteem, a lot of us are obviously thinking that, obviously it depends on your confidence level. And some of us do have experiences from childhood, like you mentioned. But again, as we go through different stages in life, it can dip. And it can actually go high as well with regards to your confidence and self-esteem. A lot of us even are entering into relationships, especially as Muslims, that we may not have even any experience of it, and we're only listening to stories from other people. So how would you go about addressing somebody to think of, their self-worth, and to what level should it be when they're considering entering into a relationship?
Your self-worth is really important when you enter a relationship, because the thing is, if you don't know yourself, then you will seek things in other people. And I think this is one of my biggest experiences with my clients, is that because they aren't feeling themselves, and I haven't found what they were looking for, have an understanding of what's in themselves or what their needs are, they then go and seek that in their relationship or in their partner, in their husband, the spouse. And that person has their own self-esteem to work with and has their own beliefs and values that they need to work with. So to seek something that you almost need as a part of you from somebody else is really unhealthy. And a lot of people are getting into relationships and are having these expectations that when I get into my marriage, my husband will fill me up in this way and that way, and he'll make me feel beautiful. But actually, what is your own opinion of yourself? Why do you even need somebody to tell you that you look beautiful? Obviously, everybody has their love languages, and that's really important as well. And I highly encourage people to explore their love languages, especially when they are getting married. It's one of the things me and my husband actually didn't really understand when we first got married. His is very different to mine. His is acts of service, mine is words of affirmation. And when I didn't get my words of affirmation, there was trouble, and it caused issues, kind of very unnecessary in the beginning. And alhamdulillah, we worked through it, but it all came back down to what my own self-esteem were. Why did I need these words of affirmation? What was I actually looking for?
That's brilliant. You highlighted a lot. We always keep coming back to the same thing about understanding ourselves and being aware of ourselves. And obviously the love language has come up many times on the show. So I'm not going to go into that so much, but hopefully we're going to go more into sort of like analyzing how do we know the level of our self-esteem and self-worth. I mean, you mentioned something really important is that we do seek sort of like acceptance. We do seek sort of validation from the other. And I think that's what I really want to discuss and go into a lot deeper today, because a lot of us are looking for relationships to fill, the other half of us when we are completely whole on our own. And that's what we need to understand. Again, I want to remind the dear viewers, please, this is a live call-in show. I'd appreciate you watching, but I'd love to hear some of your comments and questions that you have for us today on 01924 231 083. This is your Single Muslim live show on British Muslim TV, sponsored by singlemuslim.com. So here is your chance to speak up and ask a coach, anything that you require regarding this theme. I know a lot of us have issues finding the other partner. Now, if somebody comes to you and says that they cannot find the other partner and they've tried everything, and if they've even tried talking to somebody and it's not worked out, and that can actually knock a person's confidence. So what can keep someone's self-esteem and self-worth at a certain level, regardless of what they're facing, especially when it's challenging when you get rejected?
It is extremely challenging, and I do feel for people because it is a very challenging time looking for a partner, I think. But I think Single Muslim make that partly easier, to be honest, because when you have to fill in all the information that you're looking for, I don't think people understand the importance of correctly, and that's really key. So, for example, to take into consideration your values and your beliefs, to be very clear, because the relationships that have been found to work are actually those that actually share the same values.
Perfect. I would like to catch up on that as soon as we take this first caller. Assalamu alaikum. We have a sister online. Oh, no, we've just lost it. Sister Robin, if you have any issues, please do give us a call back. We are here waiting for you to call us back, and I would love to take your call again. Thank you so much for trying, but inshallah, if the line's dropped, it is actually working right now. So, it's all there. Everyone's waiting for your call. Please do call back. Sorry, as you were saying. Well, actually, we do have, what she was actually asking. So maybe I can actually answer her question. And her advice was on, wanting to know about finding your partner and the steps that you need to take, and especially having, some sort of like psychological well-being within yourself and the other partner. I think that's a very, very valid question.
I think the keys to this is really understanding the other person's beliefs and values. If you really, really understand the other person's beliefs and values, and if they match yours, 99% of the time, that tends to be a good fit. No matter what other differences that you have, if your core beliefs and your core values are matching or similar, and you have a very similar outlook and towards what you're working towards in life, definitely that has a huge impact. And even in the coaching world, obviously, we've experienced that is a really, really positive factor to have with one another. So this is why I was talking about filling out your profile really well, making sure that you put all of that information in. If your goals are the same, and if your and I do like emphasize bigger goals, like really your bigger intentions in life. They're so, I think when people get into this whole meeting somebody to get married, they don't actually think through all the actual the finer details and these things, and how much value and how much importance they actually have. So yeah, definitely that's a huge part of it.
So you're saying that singlemuslim.com is one of the ways that can actually help, especially when you're profiling. So take that on board, everyone listening out there, because that is half the battle. When you're filling out your forms and you're writing down, it actually does make you think, because as coaches, we do actually have a wheel of life, and we do have certain tools within us. And singlemuslim.com has that without even probably realizing that it is part of like a coaching tool to analyze yourself. And when you analyze yourself, then you're more likely to understand yourself better and to find somebody else. So I just want to recognize all the viewers that are watching from Kenya and Burundi, and it's amazing to know that there's so many viewers from around the world. And I just want to, it's just amazing to actually know that we're reaching so many people worldwide, and I really do thank you for your support right now. The underlying theme that we get in the comments weekly is that people are, mainly men, are asking to connect with women, and they're putting their number out as if that's going to achieve something. That's quite interesting. Do you think that's one way of like maybe putting yourself out there by just sending in your WhatsApp number or details and saying that, contact me?
I personally don't. I just personally don't think that works very well, because the thing is, they've got the person who's responding, they'll have very limited information about you. Yes, you can get a conversation going, but really, if you do a personality profile, or really, and again, I'm going to come back to people rushing through this process. I know when people are, coming to Single Muslim, they're at that point where they really just want to find somebody, and it's a really exciting time, but it's also very nerve-wracking. And if you don't think through these things, people often get really deflated, because they'll be like, oh, I'm getting the wrong kind of responses, or I'm not getting somebody who matches me very well. And I think I look at people's profiles sometimes and I think, well, you've not gone to the effort to fill it in. The other person doesn't know the kind of person that they're getting on the other side. And if you can imagine, you're reading it on the other side of a computer screen, so you have no idea who this person is. I've actually personally know quite a few friends and family members that have met through Single Muslim, have actually put their personality profiles and have had started conversations in that way, and mashallah, they've got married, and mashallah, they've had very successful marriage. So it's really key to ensure that you are being as thorough as possible without obviously giving away too much personal detail, which you can discuss at a later date, but really just focusing on the kind of person that you want. Often people don't understand themselves, which is why they can't even onto their profile, let alone what they're looking for in a partner.
So would you give some sort of example with regards to maybe addressing some of these issues? For example, if someone is highlighting their needs, their wants, their goals, to what extent, and to what would they say? When you say even, talking about your values and your beliefs, give me some examples of that, because a lot of us don't necessarily understand what are values, what are the beliefs. It's not necessarily only religious beliefs. These are also things that we aspire to in our life.
Yeah, so some of my clients have experienced things like when they first got married, one of them wanted to keep going on, like a female would want to keep going in her career, and the man expected her to be a stay-at-home wife and mother to the children. So there's been some very, very interesting differences when it came to those sorts. So that's part, it's like they're talking about the real life, just looking at what your goals are, what your aspirations are. Are you heading towards the same direction, or are you looking for different in life? How important, and it's as simple as like, how important are holidays to travel? How important is education to you? Do you want to continue your education? Do you want to continue working? Do you want to be a stay-at-home wife? These are the things that people genuinely have differences over after marriage, and if you clarify these things in the beginning, of course people change, times change, you have to roll with the times as well, circumstances arise, but it's very important that you actually think about these things and your greater outlook on life.
No, those are very important points. And as a coach, I've also, done sort of like certified in relationship and couples coaching, and I do coach a lot of couples. And one of the tools we use is called the BWBW. So you go through this box, which is actually us underlying your vision, your values, your worries, and your wants. And it goes a lot deeper into it. And even though, like you said, over time it changes, but it gives the other person and yourself an idea as to what kind of person you are right here, right now, and what you're aspiring towards. And in that way, you can actually, get a good idea about yourself. We even have a values list, so you can actually take, what are your values? What are your certain personalities and characteristics? But inshallah, we can only help you by, helping, with your questions, with your comments. And if you were to actually, hopefully, a lot of these brothers that are actually looking out there, we need to obviously be a little bit more than just giving our numbers and giving our details in that way, expecting the other person to just, so especially to Brother Shaquille and Brother Barbara. Yes, the show is live. We are on hand to take your calls right now. If you want to pick up that phone and dial in to speak to us directly, you can do on 01924231083. I can definitely, see some of the comments, and, I'm trying to obviously, address each and every one of you, but it'll be a lot easier if you were to call in and speak to us directly. We'd really appreciate that. So some of the values that people have, when they talk about, for example, religion, it's really important that obviously people are looking for people of faith and of a certain level. How does that get defined and also misinterpreted? Because I think a lot of us think that just because we're even praying, or just because we're wearing hijab, or we just in a certain way, that's just on surface. There should be a lot deeper. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, even that, I think with people, when they get married, again, it's such a big transition. I think with certain cultures, especially when the female moves to the male's, to the spouse's house and stuff, there's a lot of change that occurs, and that can impact that. So to understand if somebody who you'd been talking to and then have got married to was praying and was having, was very much into her beliefs and the values, of course, which is extremely important. But then if she comes away from that, you kind of understand that there's something going on here that needs to be addressed. It's really key to understand what it is that's going on in her mind and in her heart, because even when it comes to self-esteem also affects your beliefs, even your relationship with Allah. Because again, if you don't know yourself and you don't know your worthiness, some people have found it very difficult to believe that they have worthiness even in front of Allah. So again, this is a real key thing to keep in mind. So just really, really important to understand.
So people are actually, asking how to find somebody. So let me remind you that this is the platform for singlemuslim.com, okay? And at the end of the day, if you were to sign on, you will get the extra care and attention to find somebody to actually take time out when you're actually writing down your profile to also self-reflect and also attract and match your partner. So this is a really good opportunity for you to actually sign up and actually, have even, a show like this. Is the only place that you're going to find somebody that's going to give you the kind of assistance alongside you working towards finding a partner. And it's an amazing opportunity for everybody, and an honor for myself and my guests to be sitting here to assist you all. We have private clients, but we have this opportunity right here, right now, for you to call in and speak to us directly so you can get some tips. So it's we're here with specialist Tabassum Sabir, who is a self-mastery coach, and we're trying to understand the importance of self-esteem and self-worth in order for us to find our partners, in order for us to actually achieve the real partnerships for a long-term marriage, inshallah. And if you do want to call in, the number again is 01924231083. We will actually continue our conversation before the break, but you can call in. Please do stay tuned, and we are continuing until another, at least 40 minutes. So please do stay tuned. And again, thank you for everybody that's watching from around the world. So as we were talking about someone looking for a partner, what would be the first thing and the first steps that you would advise a male or a female that they need to understand? And obviously it does differ even between male and female.
Yeah, 100%. They really, really need to understand themselves. So what I would say is just have some time for self-reflection. And I think, like you mentioned, there's this amazing tools on Single Muslim. Definitely use those, because that's such a rare thing to have on the platform, and that's really, really beneficial to actually have something that will really help you find yourself. Just take some time out for some reflection. Really think about what it is you're looking for. But before you even think about what it is you're looking for, think about what it is that you have to offer. And I don't mean in a salesy, I'm going to sell myself in this kind of way. Really think about what values that you have to offer somebody. What beliefs is it that you have to offer somebody? Because when you find that match, it will just be so much more congruent with your belief system and your values, and it'll be so much more it's like a puzzle fitting together when two people like that get together, as I've seen in my own experience from people that I've met from Single Muslim. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Their relationships are just amazing, mashallah. So like, it's really, really key just to really take some time back, think about what it is that you have to offer in this relationship going forward, and then think about what it is that you need in a person.
That is so amazing to hear, and refreshing as well, because you yourself have known individuals to have come on this platform and find, because we do get people that are, obviously looking at it from a negative point of view, because it's not necessarily the environment or the platform that you're using, but it's how you're placing yourself in that platform. And that's what we're trying to highlight. And as coaches, we do know that as you portray yourself in a particular way, you're going to get certain outcomes, and you will achieve your goal if you actually put yourself in the right way. Like you mentioned before with the profiling, like how you put yourself across in a particular way, and not just demand that you're looking for a particular person, but actually, promote the fact that who you are. And it's not selling yourself. It's about, understanding yourself and valuing yourself and sharing that knowledge. And I think if we use the right language, then we're not going to feel like as if we are out there, in desperate need, but we're out there because we've got something to give, and we want to find someone to match that need. And we need to meet each other halfway. And I think this is so important. And also, when you do have self-worth and self-esteem, then you're more likely to understand the kind of relationship you will even basically, take on board. Because a lot of us will stay in relationships or, go through the first stages, even if we're not liking it, but just think, well, that's all we're going to ever have, and that's all we ever worth. And then, we go into it so deeply, and it's too late to turn around. And it continues sometimes for months, weeks or years, whatever it may be, whether it's an engagement or even marriage sometimes. And then they turn around and think, well, why didn't I just stop myself from the beginning? So, knowing your self-worth and having that self-esteem, that confidence, knowing that you deserve something amazing and you're going to find that in return is definitely vital. I think, what you've highlighted is so important. And again, we are here on Single Muslim, sponsored by singlemuslim.com on British Muslim TV. And we are obviously trying to help individuals to find that, that partner for your life. And at the end of the day, it is a commitment that you need to take serious. It's not about saying, I want to find someone honest, religious, and this, that, and the other, because those things are, it's okay to say on surface, but you need to be a little bit deeper. Don't you agree, Tabassum?
Yeah, because what do those things even mean? That means something completely different to different people. So yeah,
exactly.
But also I just want to add to that. I mean, if you've grown up with quite good self-esteem, but you've grown up in, like, for example, I grew up to be quite modest in my opinion of myself. So I would find it very difficult to put across my look on Single Muslim profile, but really, maybe sometimes get a friend to review your profile and talk about you, because sometimes we don't understand how other people see us.
Absolutely. That's a very, very good point. So let's try and get a call in before the break. Brother Chris, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Am I live now, yeah?
Yes, you are live on British Muslim TV. What would you like to say?
Assalamu alaikum. How are you both? Are you okay?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for calling in. What would you like to say, sir?
Yeah, obviously I'm from Birmingham, and I was just wondering what your opinion on, with obviously being Muslims, what's your opinion on the 19,000 white British girls that was sexually abused by Muslims
Unfortunately, we are discussing one topic, and inshallah, we will continue with the topic. But there are appropriate programs on this platform, and we have questions. We have behind the headlines. We have lots more shows on our Facebook page. So if you want that question answered, maybe you can email to the studio and we can get that on the right platform, on the right show. So thank you so much for your call. And you can email on info@britishmuslim.tv. And our producers is telling me in my ear that you can definitely contact us. So we can definitely discuss what your question is on another platform at another time. So inshallah, we can answer your questions there. Anyway, again, I just want to say thank you all for watching so far. We are heading towards a break very shortly, but please do stay tuned as we will continue with our lines of answering the importance of self-esteem and self-worth. It's really important that you stay tuned because we've got lots more information for you to help you find that perfect partner. And whatever queries you have, please do call into the studio on 01924231083. And we look forward to seeing you after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm looking for someone kind-hearted.
I would say I'm looking for someone that has a great sense of humor.
I'm looking for someone thoughtful.
I'm looking for someone like me who's a hopeless romantic.
I'm looking for someone who is fun, loyal, and honest.
The Prophet's mother, the Prophet's grandfather, all saw
greatness in the Prophet ﷺ. Quranic notion of giving and spending in charity is in both contexts. Because when you give, you receive. To see the stars, the sun and the moon prostrating to you is indicating a bright future.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Single Muslim Live on British Muslim TV, sponsored by singlemuslim.com. And we're here today discussing the importance of self-esteem and self-worth. I want to thank you all for watching from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Sky, live on TV, and from all over the world. Thank you, dear viewers. I really do appreciate your support. And I appreciate the calls as well, especially if it's relevant to the topic today and obviously our show. And if you want to call in, please do so on 01924231083. And I'd like to introduce to you back my guest, Tabassum Sabir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Salam. Thank you very much.
We had an amazing first half of the show, and inshallah we will continue. It's really important. We're getting lots of comments in there. This is live. Yes, we are live, and we're here to take your calls. Please do call in. And you have an amazing coach here to take in whatever sort of comments or queries you have around finding your marriage partner. We have a lot of queries with regards to it being difficult. It's not enough women out there, or not enough men out there, not enough honesty, not enough, decency, not enough relationships, which are, people that are coming from religious backgrounds, as we were talking before the show. What does that mean to an individual when they are saying things like this? And how can we get around it so that we can actually portray ourselves in a way and we can actually get that partner looking at us in a particular way so that we can actually get and make those connections? Because it's about making connections, right?
Right, 100%. It's really just about really focusing on who you are and what you're looking for, because the other thing is that you will also attract what you are also looking for. So inshallah, if you put yourself out there in a very accurate way, and your intention is right, and you've actually taken the time to, again, I'm going to plug on this because it's so important to fill out your profile properly to ensure that you are getting a true match. If somebody has actually taken the time to fill out their profile, somebody who's not bothered, or, they might look at that and think, oh God, I haven't got time to read that. They're not going to be too serious. But somebody who's genuinely serious and has thought, well, you know what, this person's quite interesting and we could probably get along, they will take the time to read your profile because they've actually taken the time to do theirs. So really, it's really understanding yourself and putting out there what you feel is necessary to get across, and that's being very true to yourself and very realistic as well, because I think some people put stuff on their profiles that were perhaps, I shouldn't share too many details because that might come across the wrong way. No, you should share as much detail as possible as you can without getting too personal. Really give a good reflection of the kind of person that you are, because this is your future, and potentially you could be finding a really good match on this platform. So yeah, I would say definitely just take the time and appreciate that other people have taken the time to do this as well.
Like you've mentioned before, personally a lot of people that have actually come on singlemuslim.com, and because they've taken the time to actually write a decent profile and do it properly and seriously, and maybe they've even had help from a coach, because if you're not sure, get other people to read it for you and look back at it maybe a few times over, from different perspectives, because that could really help. And think about how would you see it from a different perspective as well, which is really important. And again, there is obviously what we call like the law of attraction. You get what you are, and you see what you are, and all of these things. So when you are actually commenting and when you're saying certain things, it's more of a reflection on you than it is on the other person. So just be aware of that. Everything you put out there, every language, every word, it's important. So take time out and really do seek the help. So are there any tools for somebody to maybe analyze, what is their self-worth or their level of confidence, so that they can actually have a little bit more insight to regulate themselves? I know that psychotherapists may have, or there's certain tools online. Do you use anything that you can maybe share with us, perhaps?
I'm happy to share something. I actually have a questionnaire which I think is quite effective that people have started using in relationship. It's kind of like, and people laugh initially because I was just like, oh, it's a relationship interview, but actually it's quite an extensive set of questions which I think people realistically don't think about sometimes, because when you're caught up in the moment of meeting somebody for the first time, you can be all very airy fairy. So if you have this of actually genuine, realistic questions that are day-to-day life. Obviously, it's not going to be all rainbows and roses and stuff, and we need to bring realistic life into it. What are you like as a person? So I've got this questionnaire that I do offer, which I'm happy to supply to the viewers.
Yes, can you share a few of those questions? Because a lot of us, even if we're getting questions, there is also the understanding that we have our true self and our projected self. And that's the other thing we learn in psychology and coaching as to how do we place ourselves in certain scenarios. And yes, it's not like as if we're fake, but we do come across differently when we're at work. We come across differently when we were with our friends and with our families. So sometimes when you're with a coach and you actually get deep into it, that, you can actually embody most of those characteristics in different scenarios, but then you get to the deeper meaning of who you are. So could you share some of the questions that maybe some people that are watching here today can maybe reflect on and think about it themselves?
Yeah, so there's different questions. Like some of them are very I'll share some of the very more generic ones, which are quite useful to understand. And initially, when I first looked at these, I was like, oh, how do these help you understand the other person's behavior? But actually reflecting back on them, they are very useful, and especially if you're getting to know somebody very newly. So one of the questions, a really great question, is when you get out of bed, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you think of before you get out of bed? Now, if you're driven by motivation, or if you're driven by need, is it a need? I need to get out of bed because I need to get to work. Or are you driven by motivation? No, I can't wait to get out of bed. So you'll get two very different personalities there. Now, that's not to say need isn't driven by motivation, motivation isn't driven by need. They are there. There is definitely 100% some value in knowing who your spouse is, whether they're driven by need or motivation. Another great question is when you've had a really bad situation at work, what was the first thing you thought about? And some people are driven by emotions and feelings, and some people are driven by personality. So that also helps in a situation. And these sort of things, if you understand these very basic principles of how people work and how people's minds work, it's a really great way to actually understanding, okay, my spouse isn't driven by, and this is females as well, isn't driven by emotion. And that's okay. So she's not going to be like this in a particular situation. When, a situation arises, when something happens with my family, or hopefully it doesn't, inshallah, but when it does, if it does, there's a way of handling that. And if you're fully prepared with all these answers, it's just so much easier to handle these situations.
I'm smiling because it's really refreshing to hear you say this, because at the end of the day, I think that a lot of us understand and misinterpret how we actually sort of trying to figure out the other person. And it's not by words of, honesty and, things like that, but it's about virtues and characteristics. And this brings out the person's characteristics when you put them in different scenarios and understand their reactions and their responses, because then you get to really know them. And when you watch them, and you may not be going out and you may not have the chance to, but putting them in those imaginary sort of situations and learning about how they respond, I think it's so clever and so smart. And I think you've highlighted it in such an amazing way. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we are getting calls tonight. And I'm going to feed back one of them.
Cool.
Darren's asking right now, how should a sister approach a situation of being around single non-Muslims? If she's attracted to a non-Muslim, I mean, we can't talk about the Islamic conduct, and obviously we are not qualified in that, but generally there are. But let's just take his question and imagine that hypothetically there is a sister who is in a halal situation, and she is around non-Muslims. How would you sort of like approach something like that?
Again, it's just looking at your values, really. Usually, this is the thing with people. People don't often go for people from same faith because they're the same faith. It's just because people share the same value system. So you may not be from the same faith, and you may meet somebody who's a non-Muslim, and you may start to feel attracted to that person. The reason is usually because you share really close values to that person. That's what's attractive. You've seen something in them that's actually really important to you. So I think really is just reflect on that, and reflect on why that particular thing is attracting you, why what you need to do moving forward from that. That's probably
that's very true. I mean, we have values and we also have beliefs. So I guess if you were to sort of say, well, they may share the same values, but I also have certain beliefs, and depending on your level of belief and how you would move forward with that, and obviously, when you get married, families connect, children are involved in the future, and how to raise them. So there's lots of questions around it. So don't just get too carried away at the beginning, and you do need to dig deeper and search deeper, and obviously take advice from scholars, take advice from family members, take advice from elders and people of experience, so that you can actually understand that it is not just having that fatal attraction to begin with and the values that you share, because marriage is a holistic being in the future. It involves lots of different scenarios, and as much as we have that high, because as we know, we have these these chemicals that are released in the body when you first meet somebody and you feel amazing, and unfortunately in most marriages, regardless of whether they're from the same faith or not, it can die out, and that's when people think that long-term commitment is not that great. But this is how our mind and our body works. So you can get the natural high to begin with, but it does actually dip down after a certain amount of time and you feel comfortable, and then the real life comes in involved, and then you're living everyday sort of like scenarios and everyday sort of like dealings that you have to cope with regards to arranging certain things and the things and the places that you go, and all of that has to come into play. So don't just make decisions when you're just at the beginning, and take yourself out of it if you can. And again, speaking to someone like a coach, it is everyday people that require a coach. So don't think there's anything wrong with you and you need fixing. It's just to open up and give you clarity, give you different perspectives, and it's an amazing tool which is safe, non-judgmental, non-biased, where people can come to and you can really talk openly and securely and privately. So this is what we're trying to highlight. And thank you so much for that question. I really do appreciate some of the comments and the questions, and people that are actually engaging from YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and on Sky Live TV as well as Facebook. I really do appreciate that. And if you do want to call in, the number is 01924231083. So again, the beginning, as we mentioned about trying to into more confident. How do we become more confident as people?
Oh, that's a very big question. So to increase your self-esteem, it's really all about being able to express your needs as clearly as possible, being very confident in your abilities, so you can form like secure and honest relationships. And really the groundwork to that, again, and I know I've said this quite a lot, but it really comes down to knowing yourself and knowing your own beliefs and values. Once you're aware of what those are, what tends to happen when people hit anything that's traumatic or traumatic time in their life, their values and their beliefs can take a bit of a knock, and they kind of all of a sudden kind of forget who they were or forget who they are. And you always like revert back to your basic values and beliefs. So there's things like we'll never lose, like your belief in Allah, and like if it's very, very grounded and integrated into your system. But there are other beliefs that you will lose about yourself. For example, a lot of the women that come to me talk about losing their confidence, and these are women that have had high flying professional corporate careers. You speak to them and you think, wow, you're absolutely phenomenal. They don't see it because they've just been through something really, really traumatic.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, the key is like I had one of my clients who actually, I said to her, go away and ask your friends what they think about you, and she was blown away by some of the things that her friends had wrote about her, because she had completely lost self-esteem, but her friends were holding her in very high esteem. So I think to be around people that hold you in high esteem, to have regular conversations, to get coached, like you said earlier, coaching is seen as such a some people see it as such a like bad thing. Counseling, seeking help, reaching out and seeking help with somebody. A coach is a kind of like, it's a little bit different, because a coach can really help you see your value and then push you to the next level and to help you get your next outcome, whether that's a relationship, career, whatever that is. But really it impacts everything in life. So it's so important just to, if you're struggling and you feel like, oh, I've lost a part of myself, something that so many women say to me, just go and seek out a coach. And I'm not like saying necessarily me or you, somebody that you resonate with. Anybody. Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, there's lots of coaches out there, and they are actually there to actually, deliver for you to live in that fulfilled, optimal level that you require in your career, relationships, or anything. And there are lots of people out there, men or women, that can be professionally quite successful, but they're not in their relationships. And the real happiness is really having really good relationships around you, even if it's, in your family members, within your colleagues, because that actually does relate to how you're going to be treating even your partner in the future. So you want to obviously try and get to that level where you do have good relationships, and understanding yourself is key and core. And again, having confidence, maybe a lot of us may not feel that, we should have the confidence, because we are also in a culture where if we actually like ourselves, or we speak about liking ourselves, it's seen as like a little bit arrogant, or, being individualistic and things like that. But, it's the way in which you come across. Arrogance, people don't understand that you're stepping on somebody. But if you actually value yourself, then you have certain levels, certain criterias that will not, sort of like people won't cross. And that's why you'll get what you desire and what you need. And also having confidence, it takes time and it takes practice, like everything, and you got to work at it. So just like, riding a bike, at the beginning, it's really, you're not confident, you don't have the balance, but you got to keep practicing. And it's the same thing with your mindset. It's the same thing with you, believing in yourself. That's what self-esteem is loving yourself, believing in yourself. And as Muslims, we should, because we are servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He has created us in a special, unique way with so many differences, even with the flaws. But with that, we need to obviously embrace it. Just like a car, if you don't service it, it's not going to work for you. So you need to work on yourself, and that confidence will increase. So again, I just want to remind the viewers that thank you so much for watching from all the platforms. We are here on British Muslim TV, live on Single Muslim Show, sponsored by singlemuslim.com. And as our guest beautifully has mentioned, which is so enlightening, that so many people that she knows personally has been on the Single Muslim app, and who has, profiled themselves in a particular way, taking the time to actually be, self-reflective and self-aware. They actually have found their perfect match. So don't worry about attracting everyone. We don't want to attract loads of people. We only want to attract the one. That's the other thing. A lot of us are trying to attract everyone, and we're saying all the generic words when we need to stand out, and we only need that one person. So really, it does work. And we know lots of success stories on here. We're not just trying to sell it for no reason. We're selling it because there are some real stories out there, and we're just sharing this and also bringing the assistance of ourselves, especially my amazing guest, Tabassum Sabir here, who is a self-mastery coach, who is here to enable you to take that step to move forward. And if you do want to ask any questions, please do so on 01924 231 083. Are there any other tools that can, help somebody to gain sort of like self-worth or self-confidence that you have in your belt that you can share with us right now? I'm trying to really get as much as I can out of you.
Yeah, do you know what? One thing that I feel like is a real lost thing, even in our culture, and like we pray, we all pray, and mashallah, like one of the things that I think we forget that what prayer is about gratitude, and really just rewiring yourself back to gratitude. It's such a game changer, and it makes everything so different when you. So I highly recommend my clients like gratitude journal. All of you, gratitude journal. Just take a few minutes in the morning. You don't have to write it down. Just think of 3 things that you're really grateful for every day. Be optimistic. Know that somebody is out there for you. Be hopeful. Have trust in Allah to know that there's something meant for you, inshallah. Just have that faith. Another thing that I find that is really, really highly useful is that people like the language that they use with themselves. Something that I found that goes across the board, men and women. Language that you use with yourself highly impacts what you think of yourself and what you think of others. So really be very aware of the language that you use. And I think most people only realize this when they have children, because they wouldn't speak to their child in a certain way. So think about your nieces and nephews if you have them, or if you wouldn't say it to them, don't say it to yourself. We all have an inner child that needs protecting and needs nurturing. So be kind to yourself, and you'll start to see other people in a very kind way. Just accept other people's kind of model of the world and understand that not everybody is, like you said, not everybody is for you, and that's okay, but there'll be somebody for them. So you don't have to see eye to eye to people with everybody, you know?
That is so true. Again, we relate so much. The self-talk that we have within ourselves is really important. And the kinder we are to ourselves, what you've highlighted is so true. I'm just going to obviously reflect back to what you said, because it's so important. I think a lot of us don't realize that our thoughts do become our actions, and our actions do become, you know, our destiny. So we need to understand that if we're talking in a particular way, you know, our brain is wired for us to actually feel what we're saying to ourselves. And a lot of, you know, men and women will be really negative about themselves, and they'll say, like, you know, well, I'm useless. Oh, if I've, you know, failed in one relationship, it's always going to be that way. I'm never going to allow myself to be in a relationship to get hurt, because I never want to get hurt again. But you know what? We have got resilience. We have got coping mechanism. And also to realize that whatever challenges that are coming into our lives, it's only there to help us grow, as much as it's painful. Just like when you go to the, you know, to the doctors and you have to take an injection or taste a horrible medicine, it's there for your benefit. And unfortunately, you know, in life, it is painful to go through certain, you know, rejection or meet certain people and have those high hopes. But, you know, at the end of the day, you come out of it and you learn something about yourself if you were to reflect. And we all have some sort of input as to why certain things happen to us. So we need to also take sort of some little accountability and acknowledgement, right? What do you think of that?
Yeah, totally. And I think one of the things that people really need to think about are their triggers, especially before marriage. So if you've been through something in your childhood that triggers you, and that you are now taking that emotional baggage into your marriage or into even a space like single Muslim, things will trigger you. And you know, those things won't trigger other people, so they won't see it. So really consider what it is that you've been through that needs resolving. What conflicts and emotions have you experienced that you're still holding on to, which is where the self-mastery part comes in. Like when you've kind of mastered your emotions and you master why you keep reacting in a certain way, even like you said, when people get hurt, they're like, oh God, this is the end and this is so painful. It's really not. It is painful at the time, but there's a lesson to learn. And you know, we all know this from the Quran, from our teachings. It's something that people very easily forget when they're going through a traumatic experience. So the key is definitely reflect on your own experiences, reflect on what you're taking into a marriage. You really want to really try your best to go in as much as you can as a blank canvas. And I think that's key. A lot of people get triggered in their early years of marriage, and they don't understand why, but it's because they've brought stuff in with them from their childhood, from their own adult, you know, young adult experiences. So really, really clean all of that stuff up so that you're not taking that to someone else for no reason.
That is so true. And again, I'm smiling because it also goes back to understanding ourselves with our buttons and our shadows. And those can be explained if you are with a coach, because these are the things that you learn in sort of coaching to recognize that other people may annoy you because actually it's a reflection on you, or it's something that you haven't dealt with. So these are really important tips that Tabassum has actually highlighted. And if we were to seek that some sort of like, assistance from, speaking to somebody, a professional, that we can, self-development is literally something that you would always, try to invest in, and it will help you in your career and your relationships, because it does trigger in many forms and in many ways, and especially when you are finding your spouse, because at the end of the day, like again, we mentioned before that we're trying to fix ourselves through somebody else, and we're trying to validate ourselves, and we're trying to, feel more confident and like ourselves more, because, we want the acceptance, we want somebody else to sort of make us feel in a particular way, and that's amazing. But again, that's very surface based. If we have dealt with our own issues first, then we can actually not be so triggered, and even if things don't go well, we can feel that pain, but we'll be able to deal with that pain a lot better and move on from it. And that's what it's about. And we do have a lot of times that even if we are doing things in an Islamic way, we do meet people and sometimes we talk to them for weeks and months and it doesn't work out, and that can really knock you down. But don't use that as an excuse to not move forward or to delay your confidence. And we're coming towards the end of the show, and I don't want to take any more of my speech. I really want to still get in a little bit more. Are there any takeaways that you would like to add? Just a few minutes just to like give the audience a brief sort of takeaway about, you know, this entire topic that we've been discussing, so that they can have something practical to remember.
Yeah, definitely. Alhamdulillah. Just really know yourself. Really take, and I'm going to say, don't rush yourself through this process. Take the time to really get to know yourself, so that when you are looking for a spouse on this amazing platform, do actually put yourself out there in a way that reflects who you really are. A lot of people will carry their emotions with them, but don't do that. Take the time to work on your emotions, master your emotions, become a self-master in your emotions, and take forward the best version of you, so that you can start with a beautiful start in your life and your marriage, inshallah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate, you know, you coming in today and sharing your insights. It's been amazing, an absolute pleasure to have you, Tabassum. Really, really honored to have you here today. And you've, you know, given us so much food for thought. And I think if you know, somebody listening out there right now, if they take away even just one thing, like either the gratefulness, either, you know, the self-reflection, the awareness, or just getting to know yourself a little bit better, figuring out your triggers, there's so many things I can highlight. And I'm sure if you were to rewind back and take some notes, you will realize that actually we can, you know, do this together. We can actually, you know, be on this platform and be very successful. And you have an opportunity. Thank you so much, Tabassum, again, for your time and all your awareness. I appreciate all the viewers and all the guests. And inshallah, you know, we are really, really appreciative of all your support. Please don't forget to check out singlemuslim.com. Again, it's an amazing platform for you to join in and to download all whatever you read, so that you can actually have, you know, something there to reflect. But we hope to see you on the next episode. Inshallah, take care and thank you so much.